Hey, what's up? I'm Rafael Di Furia, aka Rafi D is me, and I am back at it on another beautiful Friday night, in air quotes. I very recently, have just hit my 2-year mark of living here in Italy full time. I've been coming to Italy since I was a kid, so the total time in Italy has been more than that. And this is actually, again, one of those things that seems to be confusing. I've mentioned this before, and I'm probably going to mention it again. I've been abroad for 10 years, but I've only been living in Italy full time for 2 years. I've been in a number of different places these past 10 years, but Italy is home, and this is where I plan to stay. Again, maybe not necessarily in this region, but maybe another one. But in this video today, I wanted to talk about some of the things that I thought about before coming to Italy, and some of the reasons why I chose to come to Italy when I did, because I got a question that I may not actually be able to answer today in this video. It's something that I feel partially encapsulates what was going through my mind at the time. But before we get too much deeper into the video, if you'd like to see more content like this about moving to Italy, Italian dual citizenship, and living life abroad, please be sure to subscribe with that notification bell turned on. And if you could also give this video a like, I'd really appreciate it, as it does help out the channel. And then also, if you wanted to help out the channel in another way, feel free to share this video with your friends on social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, email, however you guys keep in contact. Or if you'd like to help make videos like this possible on a monthly basis, you can go to rafaeldifuria.com/Patreon. Or if you'd like to help out just one time, you can go to rafaeldifuria.com/support. Time to bust out the glasses. Let's get on to the question. This is a comment from Lika B, who left a comment on a previous video. Hi there, super info, thank you. Thanks for coming to check out the video. A question: how does it work if you want to start your own little business somewhere in a small Italian town? It doesn't. No, it does. I should not say that. I'll get into that in a sec. As in me being someone who moves to Italy from abroad to live there or retire, is it possible at all to survive off a small business there? Assuming I do make most of my money in my current country, the UK, and then come to Italy when I'm older. Do let me know. Would love to understand how things work. Many thanks. So today, I'm not going to be getting into so much about how to create a business in Italy or necessarily the taxation thing, because that's actually something I would love to get an Italian accountant on one of my videos to do a quick little interview and talk about starting a business in Italy, because it's a very complicated and involved process. It's actually getting the tax ID very simple, but the rest of it, it's something that I personally don't even understand completely at this point in time, but something that I am interested to learn about, as I would also like to build a business out here. But specifically talking about how does it work if you want to start your own little business somewhere in a small Italian town. I would say, just like anywhere, if you're going to a small town, you really need to make sure whatever service you're offering, it's needed there. Like a grocery store, something practical. But in a small town, they usually already have their grocery store. And especially in small towns, like I mentioned in a previous video, sometimes people in smaller towns, it doesn't matter where you go on earth, they might be less trusting of outsiders, not necessarily foreigners, but people who may be from the same country, but another part, like city slickers, people from the big cities. If you're from a different country to begin with, then this is a whole different discussion. Similar discussion, but there are a few extra things to consider. So I would say it very much depends on what kind of business do you want to do here. If you're somebody like me, and my main business before coming to Italy was video production, moving to a small city or a small little village wouldn't be the right choice for me, because there would be pretty much no clientele interested in the services that I have to offer. But if that small village or small town or small city were near a big city where those types of services might be of interest, then okay, that's a different thing to consider. So of course, before starting any business, market research, most important thing, no matter what. Is it possible at all to survive off a small business in Italy? I would say it could be possible. It just depends on your situation. It's like, well, anything is possible. It's possible you could, but it's possible you might not be able to. It could really go any way. So I may not be the right person to ask about that, but in all of those cases, my best answer is, I don't know. Can you? I mean, I hate to make a dad joke, but that's really what it comes down to. I mean, even really, I think the only person who has the answers to those questions is the person who's asking them. Of course, there are detailed questions that you can ask about something specifically. That will give you a better idea if that other larger question, that more umbrella question, comes down to a yes or a no. And then this person says, assuming that they would make most of the money in their current country, the UK, and then come to Italy when they were older. Well, this is, I think, actually getting into a more complex discussion. And I can say that these things were things that I was wondering too before I moved to Italy. And I had some of these same questions. And I think there are some things that you really can only learn once you're on the ground, especially each person's individual situation is going to be completely different. It depends on where you are, where you're from, what you do, what skills you have, what skills you don't have, what skills you can learn. But the most important skill, of course, always is learning Italian, no matter what. But then when we're talking about someone coming from the UK, this raises a whole different set of questions to talk about. Brexit, what's the situation going to be for people who are from the United Kingdom who are wanting to live in the European Union? What's the exchange rate between the pound and the euro going to be? Is it going to be something where if you work your whole life and retire in another country, is what you made going to be enough to take you to that new country? Or is the pound going to be worthless? This was something that I had thought about because I had a small business. I had a production business doing videography. I did various things in the field of video and multimedia. And I had a successful business. I had something that I could make a living from, something that I knew could get me by. But my question at that time, when I finally got my Italian passport and my citizenship taken care of because of the whole Iure Sanguinis thing, the citizenship by descent, I had a choice at that moment in time. Either I drop everything and take a chance and gamble and move to Italy now, which is what I had been wanting to do ever since I was a kid and had been working for 14 years, working to try to get to that goal, or do I continue to further build my business and my life that I already had in that place, and then one day maybe get to Italy eventually? I had about a month that I could basically either drop everything and come to Italy, or in that month period, sign a new rental contract, invest in a lot more expensive equipment for my business. And so it was either I do one or the other, and I couldn't do both. I was like, okay, maybe if I move to Italy, maybe one day I can rebuild my video business or build a whole new video business or somehow figure out how to work in a related field. I didn't know what I was going to do. It was just kind of now or never, because a personal philosophy that I have is the only thing that we know that we have in this life that is 1,000,000,000% guaranteed is this moment and every moment that's led up to this moment. Those are the only things that we know that we have. Every moment following, we don't know. Everything is an unknown. You can plan in the best way possible. You can try and lead yourself in a certain direction, but will you get to the goalpost? Will you get to that place where you're aiming for? Who knows? Something in life could come up that completely diverts you from going off in that direction. So I chose at that point in my life what was right for me, which I wouldn't recommend for everybody, was I left everything. I left a pretty comfortable life, friends. I had left everything that I had built up over the space of about 6.5 years. So thankfully it wasn't too much time, but it was basically the majority of my adult life by that point. Thankfully, I had only a very short time to make that decision, and I'm here, so clearly you know which decision I chose. I'm not going to say that's the right decision for everybody. For some people, it could be, but that was the thing, was my goal, my number one goal was always to get to Italy one way or the other. If I had stayed where I was and tried to build that business more, would it have been that that business would continue to grow and the success would continue? Or would that business have failed? And now, 2 years down the line, with having spoken to people who were in that same field, in that same area, it was interesting to see that there was actually a decline in that field for a lot of people who were working in the same field, doing roughly the same thing that I was doing. So if I had stayed continuing to do that, it actually probably would have taken me much longer to get here in the end. And also for me, thinking about coming to Italy was like, okay, I'm getting my life started, whereas if I'm there with the intention one day to leave, then I've always got one foot in and one foot out. And it unfortunately got in the way of friendships at times and my social life. It killed any thoughts of dating life. I mean, there were certain possibilities that came up in that regard. So I couldn't necessarily fully invest myself into something in that way. Because if you're even thinking remotely potentially of a relationship, how can you ask someone to give up their life and move to a whole different place? Completely different aspect of my personal life. I enjoy doing woodworking, and I never invested in the tools where I was living before because I knew that eventually I would be moving to a new place, and if I had built all of these different things that I had invested myself into, to build and to create, and then have to just leave it there, and then to take tools with you, take furniture that I was going to build, to try and transport that to a new country, it wouldn't really be so practical. There are certain things where I actually would say it is worth moving internationally, and it can be cheaper than replacing certain things, but it depends on your personal situation. In my situation, it was much less expensive to move a lot of what I had than repurchase everything. If I'd been coming from a different place in a completely different part of the world, then it would be a different question. But I know people who've moved from the US, from San Francisco, for example, to Italy, and it's been less expensive for them as well. Their stuff from America to another country. I've had a guy who I've used for multiple international moves who's been really trustworthy and really reliable, which is something that's difficult to find. But anyway, this is getting into a whole different topic. And also, there was that attraction of the dolce vita, and of course what I like to call the pizza, pasta, and amore. And if you'd like to help out the channel, there are shirts, mugs, onesies, and more with pizza, pasta, and amore, and other designs available. And the link is down in the more info section below. But truly, even though that is not necessarily the most realistic side of Italy, the maybe more over-romanticized part of the country, it's still based in some truth somewhere, even though that may not be the regular everyday thing for people, unless you're retired and sitting out under the Tuscan sun, drinking your limoncello, overlooking your vineyards. I'll put it like this, I don't think I'm quite at that point in my life yet where financially that would be an option. Maybe one day. But for me also, I felt like every moment that wasn't here, it's just I was putting off a life that I was ready to get started on, that I wasn't living life how I wanted to be. Like, it was just in limbo, and it was just burning time, and there's only so much time that you get to accomplish what you want. And I was like, well, I may as well enjoy Italy while I'm still young. I've spoken with plenty of retirees who've moved to Italy and have said that they wish they had done what I had done, that they had come to Italy much earlier in their lives. But then I'm thinking also from the opposite perspective, well, if I had maybe stayed in America or stayed in another country, maybe I could have been a lot more financially comfortable before coming here. But then again, where would I be spending that time? Where would that time be going to? Would I be building my life here, and then all of a sudden I have this life that I built up in another country, and then I'm throwing that away, and then I'm coming to nothing? Or like I did, like I invested a good chunk of time, and okay, yeah, that I was leaving a lot behind, but I still have a large portion of life in front of me. So the how was something that I decided was that I would rather make happen here. And when I'm older one day, did I build my life in some other place and leave that? Or did I leave what I had and come to live a larger portion of my life here? I thought it would be more worthwhile to just get started here. And I'm glad I did. Really glad. It's not been easy, and there have been a lot of sacrifices, but I'm glad I did. All in all, even though it hasn't been easy to make that transition to being in Italy, learning the language, and actually in this area learning the languages and finding out things after the fact, I would not have done anything differently. Maybe I would have chosen a different location in Italy, although all in all, I'm glad that I came here to Alto Adige, where I live now, because this is the area that I probably would have aimed to come to. I probably would have had that shoulda, coulda, woulda, and that kind of, oh man, what if I had moved there? Maybe life would be better, maybe life would be different. But now that I'm here, I know that I can move to another part of the country and not have those same thoughts if I decide to go somewhere else at some point, which you never know. I know I for sure would like to, it's just the when would be the question. But also in this past 2 years has been quite a crazy ride, having all these new experiences in this wonderful, beautiful country. And having started this YouTube project, I've really been blessed to get to know a lot of very sweet, wonderful people with a lot of amazing stories, and getting to hear your stories has really been a treat. And so thank you guys for being a huge part of this past 2 years of my life. It's really been a crazy ride, and of course, like, I'm always curious to see what happens next, because even at this point, if you ask me, I have no clue what the hell is going to even happen tomorrow. But that's part of the journey, and that's, for me, part of the excitement. I'm usually, in general, the type of person that likes to have a plan, but I've tried to learn to let go a little bit and just kind of go with the flow as much as possible. And yeah, a lot of stress has gone away that way, that's for sure. There have been questions, and there are going to be plenty more questions where I may not be the person who's going to have the answer for you. I might be able to give you an indication of some of what I thought about in your situation, or some of maybe the things that you should think about in your situation. In these videos, I realize there are a lot of people who get angry that I don't give an answer and that I'm talking. The thing is, these videos are not answers. This is a conversation. I'm saying a lot, and if people respond, that's great. If they don't respond, then okay. I'm not trying to say I'm the number one authority, but I do have a decent indication of things because of my experience here and my experience abroad. And so I'm hoping that also by sharing some of these thoughts, I'm hoping that maybe somebody who was in the same position that I was in about 2 years ago, but now, or in the future, that it might help them to see that the situation they're in is not a unique one, and there are other people who've gone through that and what decisions those people have made. But I'm personally the type of person that I always like to get as much information about something as possible. For any big life-changing decisions or any large purchases, whatever is going to happen next in my life, I always like to do as much research as possible. So I realize that some of you watch my videos who are thinking about moving to Italy and are looking for that same kind of information. So I hope for those of you who are looking for the same type of information that I was looking for, to hear what somebody has to say and to hear the opinions and thoughts of somebody who's got their boots on the ground, that I hope this helped you in some way. And of course, if you have anything to add to this conversation or any questions about what I've spoken about in this video or any other subjects, feel free to leave that down in the comment section below. And who knows, maybe your comment will become a future video at some point. And if you would like to stay up to date with the latest videos that I'm making about moving to Italy, Italian dual citizenship, and living life abroad, please be sure to subscribe with that notification bell turned on. And also, if you could click that like button, I'd really appreciate it, as it does help out the channel. And if you'd like to help out the channel in another way, please feel free to share this video with your friends on social media or however you guys keep in contact. And if you'd like to help make more videos like this possible on a monthly basis, you can go to rafaeldifuria.com/Patreon, or if you'd like to help out just once, you can go to rafaeldifuria.com/support. And of course, as always, thank you for joining me on another beautiful Friday night. And be sure to keep an eye out next Tuesday, because I'm hoping that there should be a video. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a great one. Later.